In the previous video, I talked about logging on for the first time and changing the password. In this video, what I'm hoping to show is the navigation around the system and completion of the very first task for an installation operator, which is submission of their permit application. So, having logged in, what I'm going to do now is go to my work queue, of which there is only one installation. There may be more, just depends on your personal circumstances. So, having clicked on my test installation, there's various bits and pieces to explain here. Central to the entire thing is the work queue, which will show any outstanding tasks that are within your control. Because this is a totally new installation, the only task that's available at this present time and needing my attention is the permit application. So if I were to click on the link here, it would take me to the form, which will allow me to start that permit application process. Immediately below the work queue and the list of tasks are any recent alerts that may have been sort of generated by ETSWAP to highlight upcoming deadlines for reports or similar. On the left hand side is the navigation bar, and this is the sort of primary means to getting to various bits of the system, such as the permit and changes to the permit, emission reports, improvement reports, applications to the new entrant reserve, extension requests or requests for further information may be necessary at various times, and if the competent authority submitted those, requesting an extension to a determination or requesting further information, this is where I can access that information. I can also see a list of users here, and if the basis of ETSWAP is that one primary user is allocated to each installation in the first instance by the Environment Agency or the competent authority, and then that user is responsible for inviting any other users that they want to access their personal details or the details of their installation. Having clicked on Create a User, I can then specify details of a totally new user. The minimum amount of information I need to provide is that user's email address and the role that I want to assign to that user. If the email address that's entered already exists, ETSWAP will return an error because it has to have a unique username, and by default the email address becomes the username in the first instance. So if I just cancel that out, if the email already exists, it's probably because that user already exists within ETSWAP. And it is possible to invite a user if you know their username and their invite code, which was explained, how to find the invite code was explained in the previous video. Again, having provided that information, I need to specify whether I want them to be an operator or an operator administrator. The operator administrator role is a slightly higher permission and fundamentally allows the person with those permissions to be able to invite or disable other users. So I'm going to cancel both of those and just return to the headline home page for this installation and open up the task for submitting a permit application. All of the pages in ETSWAP follow a very similar format, with a headline at the top telling you whereabouts you are, which roughly translates to the title of the navigation bar. There's the current status for the task. This particular one is in progress, and it's a message just to state that it's awaiting something from me. It's within my control, and a list of the actual tasks that I can do as part of this workflow. Now, until I get started, there's only one option, which is to complete or to start my permit application, which I do by clicking on the button Open Form. As soon as I click Open Form, this takes me into a slightly different part of ETSWAP. The forms part of the forms application, and again, the format and layout is very similar for all of the different form types within ETSWAP. There is a navigation bar on the left-hand side, links to goes to backwards and forwards within the form to save the form. And it's probably worth pointing out at this very early stage that it's highly recommended that you click the save form fairly frequently. Whilst the form is open, it's generally accessible for quite a long time, but the system does have a timeout to prevent, well, basically for security and to prevent other people from accessing it whilst you may be away from your computer. So strongly recommended that you click the save form at least every 10 minutes to avoid loss of data, because until you've pressed that button, all of this information is just basically sat on your PC and it's not being communicated back to the servers. In terms of navigating around the forms, I can either click on the various form sections, or I can use the previous and next buttons to go through it page by page. As with most forms, they're laid out in a fairly logical order, and it's generally recommended that you go through them in the order presented, although it is quite possible to sort of jump around different parts of the form in different orders if that's your preference, and if there are more than one users filling in different sections of the form, then that's permissible. It's only possible for one user at a time to access the form. So again, if you've got the form open and a colleague is trying to access that, they will receive a message telling them that form isn't available at the current time. And I will go through the process of actually submitting the permit application form in a separate video. This was purely just to illustrate the bits and pieces that you'll see within ETSWAP when you've logged in for the first time.